Hi, I'm Rick Phillips with the Trustees Division and on the board, and this session is Effective Media Strategies in Township Government. And our speaker today is Katie Sheehan, who serves as the Director of State House Media for MAC Strategies Group.
Thank you.
She'll introduce herself.
Yeah. I told him he didn't have to read the long intro because I would kind of tell you guys my work history and stuff. My name's Katie Sheehan. I work for MAC Strategies Group. MAC Strategies Group is the PR firm that Township Officials of Illinois has hired to help with various public relations activities. We are based out of Chicago, but I work here in the Springfield office. Our team has media relations all over the state. I just got done traveling the state and personally getting to go and see reporters in every media market across the state. So probably to all the places that you guys live. Our goal this year with TOY is to promote more of the positive events that you guys are doing throughout the year. So that's what we're here to talk about. Before I worked at MAC Strategies, I was the press secretary to the Illinois State Treasurer. So I did a lot of media outreach for him all over the state. And he was all over the state. So yeah, I got to know the media quite well through working with him. But before that, I was a TV news reporter. I covered the State House at the Capitol. Got to cover the Blagojevich years. Got to see Obama announced for president in Springfield and unveiled Joe Biden as his vice president. So there were some ups and downs there, some exciting times and some depressing times. But you know, it was interesting, and I definitely got to understand what the working in the media is all about and understanding the deadlines, especially for TV. But then working in the treasurer's office really gave me some good intel on how the other media outlets across the state operate. So I'm sure many of you have experiences with the media. Am I right? Yes, positive and negative? Okay, we want to make them be more positive. No, I see thumbs down there. We don't want that. We want to better promote some of the good things that townships are doing. Can you guys give me some examples of positive programs that are really beneficial to people in your area? Yes?
We're developing an emergency management response team in cooperation with Homeland Security.
Okay, he said that they are developing an emergency management response team with what again?
In cooperation with Homeland Security.
In cooperation with Homeland Security. That is very important, and I think that would be of great interest to the media. Have you already done some outreach on that?
Specifically in media, no.
Where
Barrington Township.
Barrington Township. All right, yeah, I think that would be a great thing to promote. It would give people good peace of mind knowing that is existing or coming into the works. So that's definitely something that you would want to be promoting in various ways. I know Barrington's Chicago area, so it's a little tough to break into the Chicago market sometimes, but there's some hyper-local newspapers and radio stations, and you know, if you have a Facebook page for your township. A website, yeah. There's all kinds of different things that we can do, and that's what we're here for, to sort of help you develop the ideas more and talk about who we could reach out to talk about these things. Because informing the public, in this case, it's a good safety thing to inform them about, and they need to know that this is happening. And so that would be of relevance. I think a lot of different media organizations would see the newsworthiness in that, and they'd want to help by putting the story out there. So we would help you develop either some talking points or a press release that we'd send out. Talking points if you were going to go do an interview with a radio station or a television station, or if we decided we just want to put out a press release on that. You know, I would sort of play the role of the reporter, talk to you, ask you a bunch of questions. We'd gather all the information and make it into like the ideal story that we would want to get out there, send it to the media, give them the option of doing a story on it, making you available for an interview to talk about it, and then hopefully it's on the front page of the paper the next day. What are some other things going on?
Any of the senior programs, from raking the leaves to the turkey baskets to holiday baskets to eyeglasses, wheelchairs, any of those.
Okay, so she's saying senior programs, raking leaves, like people can help seniors rake leaves.
We just did it this past week.
Yeah, that's a great story. Where do you live?
Wakanda, Lake County. Wakanda
Okay,
Township.
yeah, that is a great story to put out there. What's the media like in your area? You have a hyper-local newspaper, don't you?
Yeah, we have local newspaper. We also, the township is very big within the social media.
Social media.
Yeah, there's a lot going on because our township is also in the town of Wakanda. So
Okay,
the town of Wakanda.
yeah.
So we have a lot of that type of thing. There's little things going around, like there's an Orange Gazette, which is a homemade little
Right.
paper, and then there's an online little newspaper.
Yeah.
And then there's, like I said, the Facebook things with My Town, Wakanda, things like that.
Right. So if you guys reach out to us and have something like she's saying, all these different senior events, all these different things for seniors that you want to promote, we'll help you. We have a statewide media list with hopefully every news organization in the state, but she just rattled off like 4 things that that she knows because she lives there and she reads these or she pays attention to these every day. So we would craft something and put something together to figure out what's the best way. Would they send a photographer out to take a picture, or should we take a picture and send it to them along with the press release saying this is what's happening? Is there a benefit in putting something out beforehand to say, do senior citizens know they can sign up to get assistance if they can't afford to hire somebody to rake their leaves, right?
Right.
Or if they just physically aren't capable of doing it themselves, give us a call and we'll put you on the list to consider, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then a follow-up after,
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, the nice happy picture with the story is beautiful. I mean, it may just be like a picture with a caption in the newspaper,
Okay.
but that's great.
Yeah.
That gets it out there about your township and your program. And of course, you want the township to be mentioned in the caption. You want the program to be mentioned. So you want to give them as much information possible so that they can put the right information out there. Sometimes they do what they want to do, but
Right.
we try to give them the right stuff to put it in there just in case. Other things? Yes?
So you work for this company based in Chicago and you're in this office in Springfield?
Yes.
You work by yourself in this office in Springfield?
Yes.
And what is your previous experience with township government?
Township government, I don't have a lot of experience with it. I'm on the Sangamon County Board here in Springfield, so we deal with townships in various ways. I've read a lot of the articles that have come out, and I've talked to Brian Smith quite a bit, but I know every township is different, and so, and every area of the state is different too, and has different media, so our idea is to just try to get an idea of all the positive things that are going on to hopefully mitigate some of the bad stuff that comes out. Because we know it's been really popular lately to say that Illinois has the most units of government out of any state in the nation, bringing this up, and it puts townships in a negative light. But a lot of people just don't realize the positive things that the township offices bring to their local communities. So our idea is, we think if we start highlighting more of the positive things throughout the year, getting the word out about these events, then the media is going to know better. They're not going to be as apt to go write a negative story or write a negative opinion column about it, because they know throughout the year, oh, they did this for people in November with Thanksgiving. They did something for people at the holidays in December. There's assistance programs throughout the year. We want them to have in their mind, this is what the townships do in local communities.
I just thought of another idea. It would be more or less just as a, I'm trying to think. I work in a ministry where I also see the same people that are at the township, the seniors that come into the store and what have you. And a lot of them complain. They do, and they complain about taxes and what have you, and they don't understand the process, so maybe if an article or something was written, so I'm always trying to tell them, they always think it's the township raising the taxes, and it's not. I'm like, go to your governing bodies, go to the school, and go to that meeting, you know? So maybe if the media could be used that way to explain it, especially if we had a class. I know our assessor sometimes has had classes where you could come and learn and say, oh yeah, you know, it's
Right.
the library that got the big tax
Right.
this year.
Yeah, I think that's an ongoing battle, just
Yeah.
people being
But that's
confused.
always a negative one. That's
Right.
a negative one, but if
Right.
you play it up positive.
Right. We want to get people familiarized with townships and what they're providing in the local areas. And I mean, just increasing the visibility to these people and just giving them some knowledge of what's going on. I mean, it can only help. And it may make people realize that there's services or, things that they're eligible for that they're not taking advantage of. So that confusion always exists, and sometimes there's just people in the world who want to be mad about things. And a lot of times they call TV stations. Yes.
Further that, I find the conversation, I've been in office for too long, obviously, with what I have to say, but it's like taxes are the price we pay for public services. And if that starts the conversation, and I'm saying it very aggressively, and that's not the way to start the conversation, that is true. If you want roads to be plowed, if you want roads to be passable, if you want a school, a library, if you want your senior meals, and if you want a paratransit program, those are tax-supported programs. And I find starting the conversation that way, it comes right back to that. These are tax-supported programs. That's why you're paying them. And then I had another question too.
Yep.
This was something that happened to us. We got an international award from the International Erosion Control Organization, which is a prestigious agency in the engineering community, and it was their highest award for a project that we did in the township. And I sent press releases to the local newspaper.
Uh-huh.
I called them. I put it on our webpage, and the IECA also did the same kind of thing.
Yes.
Yet zero.
No coverage.
None.
Where do you live, first of all?
Dundee, Illinois.
In Dundee?
Dundee, Illinois, the Daily Herald, and the Elgin Courier News.
Okay. It's a challenge to try to hook local media sometimes. I mean, you never know what you're up against. Sometimes I know when I was a reporter, it would be like, okay, Katie, you're going to cover this. We got a press release for it. They have an overabundance of dogs at the animal shelter, and they need help getting rid of them. They want people to come adopt them. Well, then it's like, oh, and I'm on my way thinking I'm doing this warm, fuzzy story. And it's like, they call me, oh, hey, somebody got shot. So you got to go to this crime scene instead, So many and the news is all about what's happening that day, and there may have been the intention for someone to cover it, but sometimes they just don't see it as newsworthy, a lot of times based on all the other things they have going on. And that's just a struggle, always. I mean, I've had things before where no media has attended, and that's just part of the risk you take sometimes. But if you ever wanted to follow up, and say, hey, this guy has a really great story, we won this award, there's a bigger story to just this award. You could put in a phone call to a reporter and say, hey, we can work with you on that too, and try to develop the message a little bit better, because sometimes, it's like, it's not the Nobel Peace Prize, or it's not some big deal. We would get a lot of press releases on different awards, and it was just like, okay, like, is this a big deal? We can't tell sometimes. And so if there is like more of a story behind it and a greater story about why this should matter to people in your community, then I think it can be developed better. Yes.
If it isn't any bigger a story than they followed the rules and they got an award for it, I think a lot of times what we feel like we're fighting is the traditional media has their own perspective on things. You worked for the treasurer's office. There wasn't a period of time where there was nothing he could do wrong, and then he kind of fell into the cycle where there was nothing he could do right.
Yes.
From a township perspective, we We are from McHenry County, Algonquin Township. We have the Northwest, I refer to it as the Northwest Herald and the Daily Herald in our area. And they seem to be anti-township. In the presentation next door, just preceding this, he talked about the future of township government, and that the League of Women Voters have had it out for township government since, 1959. Now, media seems to be going in the same direction. We're the low-hanging fruit, and so it doesn't matter what you do. We send in press releases. We're doing a public shredding event for the people of the township. They don't even publish that.
They don't.
That is, no.
Yeah.
You can send it to them. This is, please just, it's a public service announcement. We're not even telling you something.
Yeah.
It's something our constituents can avail themselves of because nobody wants your identity stolen. So come, we're paying for it. You can get it shredded. It's event after event after event. And you know what, they just choose to ignore it because they're not trying to paint a favorable picture.
Right. You're thinking,
Taking an opposite.
yeah, they have their mind made up and they're going to control their coverage that way. And that's a challenge to overcome. I mean, I would say, okay, when I think about you notifying them about an event, a massive shredding, like, to me, that's a story that day where you get video or pictures of, like, the huge pile of things that were shredded. Up until then, I feel like that's more of a story that goes in, like, the community events that are, published in the newspaper every week. Or
Please publish it.
do they? They don't.
Then I
Well,
was going to say, you send it in.
yeah.
you don't need to put
Then
it
maybe,
on the community calendar.
right. Then maybe it needs to be targeted better because sometimes every newspaper is different, just like every township is different. But they will have something on their website that says, like, you need to send it to this address if you have, like, a community announcement, versus,
And so it's sent there.
Yeah.
And then you don't ever see it. And then I'll see, oh, isn't this nice? Ribbon cutting, new auto parts store.
Yeah.
opening. Click, 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 there they are. All 6 people from the community are cutting it. And
Right.
that's
Well,
really a paper.
in the focus, I mean, the thing is, we need to try to show the media why townships are worth it. If you are in an aggressive area there where they're not really seeing the value of it, I mean, then the goal should be to try to increase their access to, like, all the things that you're doing. And if they're not biting on a press release, I would make a phone call. And you don't have to be, I wouldn't be very confrontational about it, but I would say, you guys say over and over that townships aren't worth the money, but we're doing this event right now, and it's very worthwhile for people in the community. They deserve to know about it, and we would appreciate you giving some sort of coverage to it. And just wait for a valid answer on why or why not. Sometimes there's more important things happening. I mean, sometimes there's not staffing levels for whatever day it is. I mean, sometimes that's truly the case. Even if they have the opinion and the mindset of, like, this is a waste of money, townships are a waste of money, then I would think that they would still be open to covering a good event that's going to put in a nice picture in the newspaper, something that tells people about things and services that can help people in the community. That is what the media should be there for. The media should be there to serve the public, not to carry out vendettas of the newspaper.
Okay, question.
Yes.
I'm a former member of your township, Dundee Township. I was on your board for 14 years. They have never been in favor of townships in that area of the country, and you're right, I know Algonquin Township well. So how about, budget permitting, you put ads in your damn newspapers advertising the events that you're staging, and you talk turkey to these people, you're going to start seeing us as a customer.
Yeah.
But we want you to get your people out to cover our issues, and you negotiate with them. I mean, how else do you think corporations get coverage and place ads?
Yeah.
Magazines,
But
etc.?
if it's something that really appeals to helping the public, you shouldn't have to pay for it. I get your point. I mean, if it's something that helps a massive amount of people, like if it helps a large amount of people in the population, even a fourth of it, I mean, I think that merits a news story, but or something like a community calendar listing. However, there definitely is the mindset of if we buy an ad, like they'll treat us better. It shouldn't be that way. Like ethically speaking, it should not be that way. You know, it really shouldn't. That's just my journalism, my journalistic heart speaking. Yes, yes.
I find that media and our legislators, it's the same situation. Everything is relational. So there are some people in our community that took that stand that, you know what, they hate us, they're not gonna print us, yada, yada. And I reached out and I had lunch with one of them, and it turned out that some of that was years past information, and it was new reporters, and they didn't really have that attitude.
Yeah.
But they just had, they had so many plates that they were spinning.
Right.
And as I sat with them and I built that relationship, now I can call, not all the reporters, not some of the, but some of the, I can call them and say, hey, we've got this.
Right.
And they do their best to print it. So instead of like feeding into the he said, she said history stuff, make a phone call and
That's
build
right.
a relationship. And it's amazing what you can get done. A lot of times now, they say, Sherry, we can't be out there. Can you give me the picture and just a little quote under it and we'll squeeze it in somehow? And it
Yeah.
ends up being the front page color picture because they were able to do it.
Right.
But it's all, everything is relationship.
Yeah, she's right. Building relationships with reporters is always a good thing. And whenever I'm working with someone in a local community, I'll always ask, you know, do you have certain relationships with these reporters? Because even if I am the one who ends up making the phone call, if I mention, hey, Lisa Smith told me to call you, she says you're really awesome, you're a great reporter. It's like, oh, you know, it's just a good little touch, a good little personal touch to throw in there. It's not going to get you gold every time, but come close. Yes.
Right off the Sherry, and I was gonna say, the two tricks that I use a lot are, one, I have built a rapport with the reporter that does the photography. So I have now had their business cards for the past 15 years, and when I have something, I give them a heads up. And then usually, the editor will call me back, give a little bit of a synopsis of what's going on.
Yeah.
And again, and I invite them even. So the other trick that I use is, being that my daughter's been very much in the community pageant system. When I have something going on, like whatever, just, you know, we're having ABC going on, I invite the queens, because guess what? They love to do articles on the queens, the
Yeah.
little ones with their crowns and what have you.
It's cute. They make good pictures. Yeah.
So they're there at the shredding event, or they're there at the erosion with you getting the award. Now you know, because now they're going to follow up. Or it could be any other group that always has something. So it's almost like you're riding on their coattails a little bit, their popularity, but they'll come maybe because of them, you know. So if all those little girls were around the erosion, or if it was the business club at the high school, you know, something, whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
In California, so that was part of it.
Oh, okay.
my advice would be, you know, read the news, listen to the news, watch the news with a mindful eye. Look at various Facebook pages, that type of stuff. See what they're doing, and then apply it to your own offices and think like, what could we be doing in this way? It's a lot of it is knowing your audience too. Like the Daily Herald, for example, I mean, they cover a lot of hard news, and I feel like more so they try to compete with the Tribune and the Sun-Times. So they try to play a little bit bigger. But even if it would be like building a relationship with a reporter who may come out and do a story, is there one like assigned to your area that covers the beat in your area? No?
Well, they are, and it depends on what the issue is. And I happen to be on the county board. And again, I'm not playing into a conspiracy theory, but they will certainly call when they hope there's some sort of tidbit of information that you can give about something that they can write some scandalous little something.
Right. If it bleeds, it
It's
leads.
something that shows something in a positive light, it goes right into oblivion. Now, what I hear, and I'm thinking perhaps there are more non-traditional methods of getting our message out, because somehow you do want it out there. So maybe it's the first electric newspapers, you know, where people
Yeah.
are setting up their own blog sites and they're
Right.
reporting, or our website, or something like Facebook that's more interactive. It might be time for townships to start thinking of going more that direction. because
Right.
that way we control the message. We don't wait for them to respond, we're putting it out.
The Trib Local, there's probably one in your area. You can write your own article and basically upload it and put a picture in and everything. I don't know like how far the reach is and how much people look at those, but it's at least something. I mean, they're around, they employ people, they've been around for a couple years, so I've got to think that there's some success there. So it's all about knowing what opportunities are out there and making the most of it.
Because again, we just went through an election cycle, and we watched all of these media outlets make their recommendations about candidates for these different offices. And overall, those recommendations did not reflect in the.
Yeah, that's always the way it is, I think.
They do their due diligence and they put it in, and who says how effective that is. And so maybe there are other more effective, what I'm looking for is something that actually we can use that will actually be getting the message out. So when they're defending the need for township government and its relativeness to today's society, we need to not be sitting back and waiting, hoping they're going to take an article and 1 out of 6 gets published. There, on a day-to-day basis, we need to be educating people about
Right.
relativeness of
And
townships.
I think Facebook is a good way to do that. If you have a Facebook fan page for your township, you could have a goal of trying to make 3 positive posts per week. Positive educational posts with a nice picture that people will read. And then, everybody involved with the page or with the township can encourage people in the community to like the page, because most people have Facebook these days.
I'm just giving you the point. I live in a very rural township,
Uh-huh.
and we get a paper once a week.
Uh-huh.
And we have as an assessor's taxpayer workshop every month. And we do the obligatory little calendar called the Daily Herald. And to date, no report has ever bothered me.
What,
And it is not just in our township offices, our assessor workshops, the township taxpayers will come to the meeting and learn the process.
uh-huh.
And he even helps them he helps them shape the real process of why you're taxed, what you can do, here's some helpful hints, and to date, no report has even bothered me. 5 years
From the Daily Herald?
from our one.
Oh, the weekly paper.
Herald, Mr. Jake Griffin, who is
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, weekly newspapers are,
not everybody has Facebook, not
okay, okay. I hear you. Yeah. I hear you, but, so weekly newspapers, I mean, they're hardly ever in the office. So the weekly newspapers I've worked with, I gotta call these people at home and see when they're gonna be in the office that week. They all have a different deadline, 1 o'clock on a Thursday is their deadline. They're all different. So it's all about knowing those people and what they might write about and when they're gonna be in the office. I mean, in my best experience with the treasurer was we would just stop by their office if we were in town. We wouldn't even call, we'd stop by if they were there, great. And they'd usually write an article just on the fact that he was stopping by in town. I mean, so it's just knowing the reporters there, establishing a relationship with them, and seeing like, what do you try to produce in a week? I mean, you probably know from like being a subscriber, right?
and they don't get paid,
They don't get paid?
they get paid for the article.
Well, could you submit an article? Would they let you do that?
If they don't think it's, that's what I'm saying, it's a crapshoot, right? It's a rural community, we still have things.
What's the name of the newspaper?
The Elburn Herald.
Okay, I'm gonna look into that one.
Could she invite the
Even the Daily
person?
Herald doesn't seem to be involved or care because, they don't come, they don't require.
Yeah, I like I said, I think the Daily Herald is trying to be more in competition with the Chicago Sun-Times and the Chicago Tribune. And so I feel like they're not going to pay as close of attention to really local stuff, but they always want good pictures for their newspapers.
Want information, so they send people a request, information, all they want is statistics, but no reporting. That's my issue.
And a lot of times it's a matter of getting someone on the phone. It's like, so you can think that like sending an email in is the right thing to do, but you never know. So I'll call a lot of times and just call the front desk or call the newsroom number and say, hey, if I have an event on this that I want to get in the paper somehow, what's going to be the best way to go about that, and who do I need to talk to? And usually I get connected to somebody's voicemail, but then I'll try to make sure I call back and just make personal contact with them over the phone, because that goes farther than an email with a lot of people. So it's just trying to get to know the best way to get it out there. It's a challenge sometimes. Yes?
I just wanted to add,
Oh.
if you're doing an event, I have found that it's really effective to put a large banner on the site. And the example I'm going to give you is our Forest Preserve opened up a new Forest Preserve area, and I live in an urban area. And they put in a giant banner that on Earth Day, come and plant trees. They had 2,500 trees to plant, and they were done in 40 minutes. I mean, the world showed up.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
This is on your website?
It was on the Forest, King County Forest Preserve.
Oh, okay.
So, and I have since built right off of that. If I have like a service event or something like that, like a shredding or a work day or whatever, if we put signs out, you know, and put them out a couple of days ahead of time. There's going to be a nature walk. There's going to be a shredding, whatever event it is, that will draw people. Now, the caveat with that is I live in an urban area, and there's a fair amount of traffic. You know, where like the Forest Preserve thing was right across from the subdivision. Now, I'm not kidding you. I think probably 500 or 600 or 700 people showed up. It was really amazing.
That's awesome.
They had maybe
Yeah.
done in 4 hours. They were done so quick they ran out of trees to plant.
Yeah, that's good. 40 minutes, wow. Yeah. Well, yeah, and a lot of it, I mean, there's like different moms groups or different community organizations that have a good built-in network. So if you ever think like, okay, maybe this would be of interest to this group or a senior citizens group of some sort, then I would contact that group and see, do they have like an email list or, like she said, like the website that they know that they get a lot of traffic, and just ask, because sometimes, yeah, the news and media is not going to be the solution. Did you have your hand up? Yes.
Can you hear me? I have a little there.
Yep.
Okay. So, yes, we also face the challenge of making our township services more real to the residents. So a number of people have suggested that we develop some, for lack of a better word, testimonials, stories, statements by people who have used the services and benefited. So we actually have people lined up all over the place that are willing to do it.
Uh-huh.
Some with names, some anonymously, because if it's a mental health service,
Yeah.
we have to protect.
Right.
That's great, and I have somebody who can help me do the interviews and write these up and even make it pretty.
Uh-huh.
Then what do we do with it? So that's my question. How would you go about marketing or presenting these stories or testimonials with the overriding objective of making township services real to people that don't know?
I mean, that could be a pitch to a local TV station. Where do you live?
Suburban Chicago.
Okay.
So, Cook County, River Forest.
Right. So maybe the Chicago TV stations may not be interested in it. But I would say, does your website get a lot of traffic?
Not as much as I wish it did, but yeah, I mean, certainly they can be posted there. We do it on Facebook, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I would think that'd be a great post for a Facebook page. Is it utilized very well by people in your area?
Not as much as it should. You know, we're just really
Starting that?
Yeah.
Because I think that would be a great post for Facebook, especially if you could tag that person's picture, then all their friends see it. They're going to come to the page, they would like the page, then they would become educated on the different services that your township provides. So, I mean, I think the media, if there's some hyper-local, like newspaper that might do a feature story on something like that, I mean, working in the media, like I was always taught that the goal is to humanize the story. You want to tell a story about a person. That's the best way that people understand a story. I mean, the story, like for this constitutional amendment campaign that I was just working on, it's Crime Victims' Bill of Rights. You can sit and explain it to everybody. They're just like, what? Until I tell them, okay, actually, like our lead advocate, her sister, brother-in-law, unborn baby, they were murdered, and she was denied the opportunity to make a victim impact statement at the sentencing hearing. And then people are like, what? That can even happen? You know, but when you start thinking of it like in a personal way, then you relate better and you understand the whole situation better. So a person telling their story is the strongest way to do it. Sometimes it's just not possible based on the deadlines and the resources available to reporters. But TV especially, I mean, we're taught to tell the human story in terms of like a program being available. You know, it would start off as saying, like this lady saying that the leaf raking program, you know, Gladys Smith is 86 years old, still lives in her house by herself, but she cannot get up to rake the yard. And, you know, quote from her saying like, I really wish I could just do this myself. And then, but, you know, such and such township has a program that provides people to help with that. And then quote from the volunteer, like, it makes me really happy to be able to help Gladys, you know, and then she's just sitting there watching, baking cookies for him or something, you know what I mean? Like, that's the best way to tell a story, is when you show people. So I would start by pumping those out on Facebook. Yes?
Just on that same subject, it's interesting because we're also from suburban town. We came up with a similar thing, type of thing, doing testimonials. We thought it would be a great idea because with this whole thing of eliminating township government, it's
Yeah.
really the people who use the government that are going to be hurt, you know, especially in Cook County. Cook County is not going to be providing services.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they did, these people couldn't get into the city, spend $40 for parking, and then have probably hundreds of people ahead of them. It's just not going to happen. But at any rate, we thought about testimonials too. We just never got around to doing it. But one of the things we were thinking about was, you know, like with the senior services or something, we have a pretty decent website. And we thought about maybe adding a testimonial website for like senior services to kind of reinforce what's being offered. We just never got around to it. But I was thinking the way you said it, it may really be suited to Facebook more than anything.
Yeah, I think that would be the best. I mean,
And the newspapers aren't going to pick up on anything like a testimonial unless it's a single thing. But the testimonials are more of a whole global thing with township services.
right,
The only problem with Facebook is if you're trying to reach seniors,
You know, they're-
not gonna happen. Right.
and actually too, like people on GA or
On what?
general assistance,
Oh.
people with mental health issues,
Mm-hmm.
they're not necessarily on Facebook.
But someone who knows someone might, you know? Like, I've been on the search for programs for a couple of my friends who can't work. They're severely autistic. You know, I've been looking for ways to help them. And it hasn't been easy, but I search and look. I mean, I feel like people do that for their friends and their family all the time. So you're not always gonna be able to reach out to the exact person directly, but at least like someone who would be connected to them.
That's true, people are always looking for their parents.
Right.
Senior parents.
Yeah, yeah. There's no like surefire way, you know, on anything. I mean, TV commercials, not everybody watches TV, you know, and it's just, you just got to try a lot of different things. And if you have a good website, if you have a good email database, then those stories could also go out on that. I mean, it's just a matter of what you feel is a good resource. Yes, sir?
It would sound to me, after listening to all this stuff, none of us in townships have a good public relations officer or person assigned to do this work. Every company I've ever worked for always had one.
Yeah.
A lot of big government units have them. We are woefully short in this area, so I think that's maybe.
That's where we come in.
Yeah, well, and we have that on the TOIA site that says, here's your basic guidelines for doing public relations, because someone in every township is going to have to learn how to do this.
Right. And if you guys have questions on anything, you're welcome to call us at any time and email us, run anything by us, get advice, whatever you want to do. I mean, we can help. We're here to help. there's a lot of townships, and I think you guys could keep us really busy, but we are definitely hoping that we can start getting more positive messages out there, because it seems like what's showing up in the media more is negative messages. So we have to change that. And I know that many of you are so busy with day-to-day activities, it's like, oh, I don't have time to figure this out. But if everybody's pitching in a little bit and thinking, you know, at every meeting or whatever, like, is there anything that we could try to do a press pop off of any of this? Would this be of any use to the public? You know, just start thinking about it. And as you pay attention to the news, see what they're covering, you know, that also makes you realize things that you could be doing. So that's why we're here, is to help with that, because yeah, you guys probably don't have it in the budget to hire a PR firm, I'm assuming. Yeah. Yes.
So we're looking to strategize at a county level. I'm up in Lake County, up in the top corner. And just as far as, you know, one of my frustrations over the years is we have like one of the social service organizations has a resource fair, and Zion Township shows up. Well, it's a waste. We're only serving a few people. So what we're looking to do is, actually at our next meeting, we're voting on a tablecloth, a wheel to make it fun, and one of the picture screens, having everybody contribute, and then have one calendar so that we can all start pitching in. Well, we have this event here. I mean, our county fair, townships we've never had anything there, and yet we can go to the media all day long, and if they're not working for it, but really they don't determine the fate of townships, our residents do. So being able to like strategically work together, and I'm wondering if there's any top 10 things that a county organization can do to mobilize besides doing the media campaigns. What some ideas you have for that are?
Well, one thing that Brian Smith, we're working on with Brian, is we're trying to start doing some editorial board meeting campaigns, which means we're going to go to different newspapers in the state and sit with their editorial boards and go through, and it's going to have more of a local focus. You know, you guys may be invited to participate in these. I would say likely if we're in your neighborhood, you're going to be invited, so that we can draw out all of the positive things that these townships are doing. And we could come up with a statewide list, but I feel like it makes more sense to go to these editorial boards who are writing the negative stuff anyways and highlight, you know, locally what good is going on there. So that's what, I think we're starting that in January. And I don't know what the first stop is, but if you think that you live in an area that would be particularly good for us to start in or to have on our calendar.
Start with Jake Griffin.
Yeah, actually, you know, I talked to him this morning about something else, but yeah, he's tough, huh? Yeah, that's what I heard before I talked to him. And
I'll give you an example. In our township, we are going to abate part of our tax levy for Dundee Township by 60% in 2 years.
Uh-huh.
And I'm putting together a PR thing about this because we have open space bonds that will be retired, and then that bond levy will go away. So we're gonna people are gonna have a 60% drop in their township taxes.
Yeah.
In 2017, and I talk to Jake periodically about different things, and I just kind of threw this out, and his response was, well, I suppose you're going to go back to referendum. And I said, there are no plans to do that at this point. And there was no positive response at all, like, wow, and it is neat.
Yeah. Well, if you could break it down, like how much does that give back to the average person, would you say?
You know, I don't know, because we have housing ranges anywhere from 150,000 to 500,000. So.
Because I think if you could break it down, I mean, that sounds good. And generally, I mean, okay, if something was going to go up 60%, that'd be outrage, you know. But going down 60%, there's not going to be the same response. But I feel like if you can find somebody also that could talk to him that says this is going to make a huge difference in their lives, you know, it's going to be a positive thing in their lives, then that may be a good hook for the story. Yes?
I just want to give a comment.
Uh-huh. Where are you from? Downers Grove Township, yep.
And we have a 6-week cycle that we automatically get out of
Yeah.
And it's always on township, and Jerry, we've always, spread around to the whole township.
Yeah.
And they've given that to us for over a year now.
That's awesome.
And we've kept it up, and they've worked with us greatly, so it's been a wonderful process.
Which newspaper is this?
This is the Shaw Media, so
Oh, yeah. And they own a lot of different newspapers.
yes, and they do our whole township, we cover 9 municipalities, so they go out to all 9 municipalities.
Right.
So it's very positive, at least it's a good thing. It's
Yeah.
positive. But on top of that, also that we developed on our website, we can get email blasts from all the letters too and stuff, so that we can see it and they also look for the data.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of positive response.
From having an email database of, is it people in your community mostly that you have?
Once you sign up for it,
Uh-huh.
and if you don't, they reject.
Yeah.
But we do the email blast, and then we also do the article, so we found it's been a real positive attitude.
Yeah. That sounds really good. I didn't know newspapers would even do that. That's really nice.
A long time ago, we did it, but it did.
Yeah. I mean, there's other things you guys can do too. I mean, not everyone would be as fortunate to get a positive article space like that every 6 weeks, but you can always craft like a letter to the editor. We did one with this constitutional amendment I was working on, Champaign News-Gazette. I'm telling you, probably they put out about 4 things, all negative, on this amendment. And it was like we offered to meet with them. We sent them all kinds of information. It was like they weren't even reading it. They just didn't care. So finally, I got the lady at the Rape Crisis Center in Urbana to write a letter and send it to him. And they published it, which was good because, the first line was, "I am appalled by the column that was in your paper a few days ago criticizing the Crime Victims' Bill of Rights." But then, that at least is some sort of balance, and that's some sort of, power you have. And usually they'll tell you if they're going to use it or if they aren't going to use it. Usually I think for a letter to the editor, it's 250 words is the limit, an op-ed, 600 words. But if you really feel strongly about something you want to get out there, that's always something you can try. Yes.
Not to be a naysayer again, letters to the editor used to be a marvelous tool until they allowed anonymous blogging comments on the letters to the editor. So one nice letter to the editor can spawn 36 nasty comments to the contrary.
Yeah, I don't.
Now, unless you intend to get right down there and blog with those people anonymously, that bothers me no end. A letter to the editor, they won't publish until they have verified your name
And that's good.
residence well,
That's good, so you're not sending something fake in.
I was going to say, but that's a wonderful thing. And there's some responsibility involved in that, and yet they will allow them to blog anonymously, and then they can say the nastiest.
Yeah, they can.
Their own real thing.
But if you read it, the hard copy in the newspaper, then you don't get that. Just kidding. But sometimes they turn comments off on certain things online, and then sometimes they leave them on. Me personally, I don't read the comments anymore unless somebody tells me you should read these are hilarious, and so then I'll go and read them. But otherwise, I generally just don't read the comments because I have my own opinions. I get what I want out of it, and I don't really want to see the craziness that unfolds in those comments. It's crazy. Yes? Yep, we sure can. But we would want to do it specifically, that means 10 minutes. We would want to do it specifically for your office in your area. So that would be something that we would work with each of you individually on, because everybody has different things to offer. We want it to be more specific for you. Where are you from? Riverside. Okay. Yeah, we would be happy to help with that.
So specific, so you guys are on the state TOI dime, willing to help townships promote themselves. And we can reach out to you, whether in an individual township or at a county level, to help us create a strategy for being more
various things. Yeah, and there's limits to what we'll be able to do, but we will help you as much as we possibly can, for sure. That's what we're here for. It may be just guidance, it may just be a phone call asking a question, you know, we'll work with you as much as we can. We have several people in Chicago office, our Chicago office as well. Yes, sir.
So I think you guys have been with TOI for 3 years, right?
Uh-huh, I think so. All right, Brian? Have we been with you guys for 3 years? This is the 3rd year.
So what kind of specific projects or strategies have you guys done with TOI?
Mostly responding to negative stuff. That's been really the focus
Like
for,
letters to the editor?
yeah, op-eds, negative articles. I mean, that seems to be what comes across my desk the most.
So how do we get on the,
By
instead of the
by doing what, I mean, by keeping in mind that we need to do more positive outreach to the media on things that are actually newsworthy. And you guys have these things going on. So we'll work with you to help bring about a positive message about those things. And we'll explore the different options that may exist in each community, each media market, because it's all different. So anything that you guys think might be good, you call us and talk to us about it. I mean, there's no way that Brian, we talk to him the most, but there's no way that he knows exactly what's going on in every single township across the state. And not everybody has a website. So this is gonna be a work in progress that we're all gonna have to work on together, put your thinking caps on pretty much every day and think, like, what can we do? What is something that could be a positive news story? And give us some notice too. I mean,
I know like with our township, we do a letter to the editor.
Uh-huh.
If we see something. So that's what you guys are doing for TOI?
yeah, right now, that's a lot of it. That's the most part, yeah. Yes?
Comment back here on Shaw Media. Dundee Shaw Media owns the Northwest Herald. So if you use that concept of having
Yeah.
a revolving column, that might.
That's a good point.
I wrote that down as our forces are.
Yeah. Yeah. Their staff is great too, like with putting stuff in. They're always very good and easy to work with, in my experience. So, do you have a question? Yeah.
Two questions actually. Is there, can you overflow the media with press releases? Is there?
Yes.
Like, is there a timeline, an industry-wide, monthly, bi-monthly? I mean, do you pick and choose what's important?
I mean, it just depends, like, what you have going on. You never want to, like, be sending them stuff every day and saying the same things repeatedly. I mean, you want to, there's really no art to it. If you have something newsworthy that occurs like 3 weeks in a row, then I would send something 3 weeks in a row. If that's all it's going to be for a few months, you know, fine. But it's not if it's the same event over and over. You don't want to flood their inbox with things, and you don't want to become too annoying. But you also, we want to make an effort to give them a quality pitch. We want to be able to give them an option for a viable news story, something that's worth their time. We want them to open it and be like, oh yeah, that would be good. Okay, you know, we want to at least like hook their attention a little bit.
Okay. And then secondly, if we do our own press releases and actually have a fairly decent relationship with our media market, do you want to be carbon copied on some of our positive press releases? Or
It'd be good so we know like some of the positive things that are going on across the state. Yeah, that would be good for you guys to keep us in the loop, or if you want to just send us like a summary of things.
or even a link to?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, because it's hard for us to get a grasp of like all the things. Usually it's like phone calls with Brian. He'll walk us through as much as he can, and he gives us specific examples a lot, but it'd be good if we had that information at our fingertips as well, because I think we're on for at least another year. So, yeah. You got a question? Nope. Anybody else? Did I put anybody to sleep? I don't know if I have enough business cards, but I'll give you my email address if you want to write it down. It's Katie, C-A-T-I-E, Katie with a C, C-A-T-I-E, at MAC, M-A-C, strategiesgroup.com. So Katie, CATIE, at macstrategiesgroup.com. My phone number is 217-753-1761. Springfield office number.
You need direct connect us with somebody.
Yeah, you can start with me and I'll, because we have several clients and it's all like depending on who's busy with what, we share the workload between all of us. So we'll get it figured out. Thank you guys.